Welcome to the Science of Getting Rich for Women podcast, where we unlock the secrets to wealth and prosperity. I'm your host, Jessica Marie, a radical money coach.
And I'm Amy Bell, master designer, brand consultant, and founder of White Lightning Communications.
Together, we'll dive deep into the scientific principles of wealth outlined in the Science of Getting Rich, ensuring financial abundance with mathematical certainty.
Join us for real, empowering conversations about money, wealth, and the mindset shifts needed for true prosperity.
Whether you're ready to rise up or already on your journey to riches, tune in weekly for insights that will elevate your wealth consciousness.
Yay! I have my co-host with me.
It never gets old.
It doesn't. And I just want to say I'm so happy you're back with me this week, Amy. I missed you so much last week. And I know you bring so much joy and so much laughter to these sessions. So I'm so glad you're back and you're ready for it. You're ready for it, right?
I'm ready. I'm ready for this chapter. I'm ready, to get back chatting with you about all this stuff. I'm super excited.
All right. Today, we're diving deep into chapter 8, thinking in a certain way. And what is really interesting is that when you start reading this book, he's alluding to this certain way for chapter upon chapter, and it creates so much curiosity. Like, I remember listening to this book as I was driving home from that all-day seminar, 3.5 hours away. And I kept listening to him talk about, the certain way, thinking in a certain way, acting in a certain way. And I'm like, just tell me what's the certain way? Like,
I was going to say that too, like, holy cow, 8 chapters in, and now he's talking about the certain way. But there's so much prep work that has to go in before you can actually go, oh, that is a certain way of thinking. Okay. Like maybe that was your way of thinking and now you're confirmed, or maybe you just didn't even know what this certain way was. And now he's explained it. So I can't wait to start talking about it because we've been waiting for it for like 9 weeks now.
Exactly. So he talks about, up until this point, about the power of your mind and how you literally have so much power and ability to create things in your mind, to literally manifest things from formless substance to form in the 3D world. And so up until this point, we've been talking about, getting clear on the fact that your mind has this power and ability to realize forms from this formless substance, which permeates and penetrates the interspaces of the universe, right? And so he starts right out the gate in chapter 8. He says, you must form a clear and definite mental picture of what you want. You cannot transmit an idea unless you have it yourself. You must have it before you can give it. And many people fail to impress this thinking substance because they themselves, they only have a vague and misty concept of the things that they want to do, to have, or to become. You see, it's not enough that you should have a general desire for wealth to do good with. Like, everyone has that desire. It's not enough that you should have a wish to travel, to see things, to live more, etc. Everybody has those desires. If you were to send a wireless message to a friend, you would not send them letters of the alphabet and then have them construct the message themselves, nor would you take the words at random from the dictionary. You would send a coherent sentence, one which meant something. When you try to impress your wants upon formless substance, remember that it must be done by a coherent statement. You must know what you want and be definite about it. So when you hear that, Amy, and you think about your desires, your wants, your wishes for, your life and your future. Doesn't it make you want to get more clarity, like granular clarity, like down to the feel, the touch, the smell, the taste, the colors? It makes you want to get really, really granular. That's the way I see it anyways. I'm like, I haven't been definite enough. I haven't been clear enough.
You know what? This is something that I have struggled with, because sometimes I'll have this fleeting thought. Wouldn't it be great if this happened? And then I carry on my day. And the next thing you know, within 24 hours, that wouldn't it be great thing just happened. And it took me a long time to sort out, how is that happening? And then the thing that I'm putting so much effort into to clarify, to get down to the feel, taste, and smell of it all. And then that's taking longer to come into fruition. So I think we touched on this a couple of weeks ago, because I think attachment is in there. Like, I had no attachment to that. Wouldn't it be great if? So we're setting our goals or our desires into motion with this clear and really vivid visualization and statement. But then the next, I think, thing should be that you need to release the attachment to it. And I think that's when we get into this chapter further, where he's saying, you don't have to keep repeating it. You don't have to set a time aside for prayer. You don't have to bang the universe over the head with your desire. You just make the clear statement, and then you move on with your life, getting to it.
Yeah, I love how you made that point an episode or two ago about the not having any attachment to it, because I think we both agreed like that was really key. That the more attachment you have towards it, it's almost like a toxic energy, where it's like, it's like a dependent energy. Like, if I don't have the thing, I'm not going to be complete, when in fact you already are whole and complete just as you are. And these things that you desire, you get to realize, you get to move into form, just because you have the power to do so. And so this reminds me of how, in the last chapter, he was talking about how the woman had started playing with this idea, and she wished for a particular type of stove for her house. And in a short amount of time, following these steps, she had the stove. And then she realized that she had not asked for enough. And so then she went on to thinking about all the other things she wanted to furnish her house with. And it's an incredible example, because it talks about how she went on to realize all the things that she desired. And we can too. You can too. So now I'm thinking about myself here, and I'm like, okay, like I have these dreams of, finishing the basement and like redoing the kitchen. But I will say that I have not been living in my mind as if it's already here. I've been thinking about it as if it's in the future.
Yeah. So I remember a time where and this is before I knew anything about any of this stuff. I was driving and I really wanted a Volkswagen Beetle, like so bad, a convertible Volkswagen Beetle. All fingers pointed to, you should not have this car, Amy, because you've got 2 kids and like 2 little kids, backpacks. You are a minivan person right now. Like, just embody that. And I'm like, no way. I am not embodying that. I wanted the Volkswagen Beetle. And as I'm driving to work, I honestly I was driving to work in my Beetle, and I was listening. I could hear the music that I was playing when I was driving to work in my Beetle. And then I got it. And it didn't really click until I was listening to this one song, and I'm like, wait a minute, like this is the dream realized right now. I'm in the car, I'm driving to work, this song is playing, and it was amazing. Now, my Volkswagen Beetle was not a long-lived car for me because of said reasons before, 2 kids. But I mean, I made it happen, and I got the car and I loved it. And so it worked in that instance, right? But you have to be cooking in the kitchen, in the new kitchen you want in your mind. You have to be, in the home that you're desiring to be in, or the car that you're desiring to be in. And I would have called BS on all of this had I not had it happen in my life where I really was like, I want this car. I'm getting this car. And I got it.
And then you had that moment where you had the car and then you made the connection like, holy crap, like I actually now have the car.
Yeah, it's like when people do their vision boards, like they'll put their vision board away, they do it with all this intention and energy in it, and then they put it away. Maybe a couple years later, they take it out and they're like, holy cow, like all of this stuff happened. It's just, a vision board is just a visual way of creating your desire and building up your desire, which, lots of people do vision boards. But sometimes, like mine is stuffed underneath a box right now. I know it's there, but I kind of hid it. So like in a little while, I can go back and like tick off all the things that have happened since I created it with this energy.
I'd be interested to know how many times people visualize something that they're calling forward into their reality and then forget that they were actually doing the thing to realize it. Do you know what I mean? Like you had that moment where you were like, oh my gosh, the thing that I've been desiring is now in form.
Yeah, like the fleeting moment stuff. Like there's things that you would put on your vision board that, might have been a filler or might have been like, oh, I saw that picture, that'd be kind of cool. And then you move on in your life and next thing you know, you're like, wow, like 90% of that vision board is in my life right now. Or 90% of the things I've written down in my journal are in my life right now. And like, I want to keep focusing on the things I want until they become in my life. Like they'll always remain in my journal writings until they happen. So my journal stuff is, in that repetition. I'm like in the book, it says you shouldn't repeat it as far as like talk to the universe and repeat your prayer every day. However, there was one section in here, the whole matter turns on receiving. And once you've clearly formed your vision, when you have formed it, it is best to make an oral statement. So you make that oral statement. Addressing the Supreme, whoever that might be for you, in reverent prayer. And from that moment, you must, in mind, receive what you ask for. So you need to be open to receiving those things. And sometimes you forget you asked. And so the receiving is easier because you're like, oh, thank you very much, universe, for giving me that. And other times women in particular have issue with receiving in general.
Oh my gosh, I hear this all the time. Let's dive into that for a second because, especially as women, we have been programmed and conditioned to believe that it's better to give than to receive. Now, if you're a younger spring chicken, maybe you weren't brought up in this way because I know a lot of younger women, they don't have that same conditioning. But for myself, I am 44, going to be 45 this year, and older. I know that we have been brought up in this way to believe that it's better to give than to receive. And so women will, sacrifice their own well-being, their own needs in order to put others first and to give. When in fact, giving and receiving, it's the same energy. It's like this infinity loop. And so if you want to receive that which you are desiring, you have to be a good receiver. You have to be willing, ready, and able to receive it when it shows up.
Yes, I agree.
And this connects to the paradigm, right, Amy?
Yes. Yeah. So what we were talking about before we got on live here is that the message from Wallace D. Wattles is you shouldn't repeat your prayer in vain. But we were talking about paradigms, and the way to kick a paradigm is to have like an emotional, impactful thing happen, which will create either a good or bad paradigm out of it, or there's repetition of thought. But the repetition of thought is not necessarily telling the universe this all the time. The repetition of thought is for me and you to buy in, to believe, to have faith in this thing that you've asked for that may be outside of your comfort zone, or it might be a bigger goal that you've never created before, like the C-type goals that you talk about, right? So like that's what the repetition of thought is about. So I'm not continually asking the universe, please send me this. Oh my God, I surrender. Please give me this. Please, whatever. It's like I'm repeating on a voice loop to myself what I want, to the point that my subconscious begins to believe it. And then it becomes a burning desire. And then it becomes a goal achieved, or a thing in your hand, or a great relationship, or money, whatever it might be.
Exactly. And you have to have an unwavering faith that you can have it, that it is yours, that it could be formless right in front of you, but it's still there. And so you have to understand and have this unwavering faith that it is on its way. Wallace D. Wattles in this book talks about, and feel free to chime in, by the way. What's great about doing this podcast live is that it can be interactive. So if you have any questions, comments, feel free to chime in, and we can definitely riff on that. So Wallace D. Wattles in this book talks about the science of getting rich. He says it's an exact science, and failure is impossible. And what I have learned from reading and studying this book is that, number one, it's all about the mind, and you can form things in your mind. Number two, it's having this deep sense of faith, purpose, and gratitude that you can have it, that it is on its way. And then we'll get into later about, acting in a certain way, like being able to act and do and receive when it shows up. Because when you are thinking about these desires that you want to realize, you are literally putting in motion things in the universe that are going to come to you at a certain opportunity at a certain time. And if you are not able to receive them when they appear, who knows how long that motion has been set forth. And it is the perfect day, the perfect time for you to receive what's come your way. If you're not a receiver, if you can't receive it, you miss the boat. Who knows how long it's going to take for the next round to come? You know what I mean? So we've got to be able to receive the things that are showing up.
Oh, yes. I just had another thought.
Okay.
When you were talking about acting as if.
Yeah.
There's another saying, fake it till you make it, which I'm not necessarily a fan of. I know my man's not a fan of it, but I'm wondering, what's the difference between acting as if and faking it till you make it? Because
faking it till you make it, you're faking it. You're faking it. But when you are acting as if, you're not faking it. In your mind, it's real. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the difference that I'm understanding, is that he says, he talks about the whole matter turns on receiving. Once you have clearly formed your vision, when you have it formed, it is best to make an oral statement addressing the supreme and reverent prayer. Did you already say this?
A little, yeah, but I didn't finish.
Okay.
And from that moment on.
Yeah, exactly. He says, live in the new house, wear the fine clothes, ride the automobile, go on the journey, and confidently plan for greater journeys. Think and speak of all the things you have asked for in terms of actual present ownership. Imagine an environment and a financial condition exactly as you want them, and live all the time in that imaginary environment and financial condition. Mind, however, that you do not do this as a mere dreamer and castle builder. Hold to the faith that the imaginary is being realized, and to the purpose to realize it, remember that it is faith and purpose in the use of the imagination which make the difference between the scientist and the dreamer. So, in your imagination, from what I'm gathering, Amy, is that it is real. It is not something you are faking. It is real in your mind.
Right. Yes, I will hold to that one. It's a little confusing though, because if you've got that word fake in there, and to all reality, what's up here in your mind is not in your reality. So you can kind of like maybe look like you're a bit of a crazy person if you're like, oh, I'm cooking in my new kitchen with my Smeg, and I'm making a tea with my Smeg $250 kettle, and I live on the ocean, and isn't that breeze beautiful today? Like if people don't read this material, they're like, that girl's nuts. Like, what is going on? What rose-colored glasses do you have on? Because I would like a pair. And where is your head at? Like, at what point? So I guess if I'm thinking and doing and putting that in my mind, and I'm taking steps towards making that my reality, that's the difference between the dreamer and the scientist. That's the difference between the dreamer and not taking steps to actually make it come into fruition. Like in that chapter where they're talking about the sewing machine, like, no, you can wish for a sewing machine, but it's not going to just appear and like, it's like, your want and desire for the sewing machine has now been like sent out into the formless. That's all connected. So I imagine it like spark, 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 and then it finds somebody. And then they're like, hey, I would like to build a sewing machine, and I am going to make that come to fruition. And then the spark, spark, spark goes to someone else who wants to sell that sewing machine. And then someone else wants to bring it to the US, and someone else wants to land it in the store near you. And then you happen to go to the store and it's there. Like, it's like this ripple effect that touches different people's imagination en route to it having come back full circle to you.
Yeah, there's so much that is going on behind the scenes that is formless, invisible, that our minds until this point might not have been able to even like open up to, comprehend, understand. I know myself personally, before I was introduced to this book, I mean, I understood that there were abstract things that were formless that I couldn't see, multi-sensory perception and all that. But this book really brings to light in a very concrete way these abstract things that are invisible and formless behind the scenes, that are at work, at play for our realization.
He also mentioned, I think we already talked about this a little bit, but I think it needs to be said again, because he's talking about having faith and purpose, right? Now, when you come up with these dreams, when I come up with these goals that I'm writing down with my, as if, and living in this moment and thinking and believing, like there are times when I'm like, how the hell is this going to happen? I can't do this. Who the hell am I to think about it? And so the surrounding yourself with people that have faith in you when you can't have faith in yourself in that moment. And then they say, look, you're going to rock it. Like you and I go back and forth and we're like, you're going to kick ass. This is awesome. Like, we support one another in our goal because we know what they are. And then so what I think what should happen is once I hear the statement from a friend I trust, not someone who's blowing smoke up my wazoo, right? Like somebody I really trust who says, Amy, you are incredible. You have this. Don't waver. Don't fuss. Then I just need to like hone in on that. And that needs to be the fuel to get you through a little hump that you're having of disbelief or unfaithfulness to your own goal. So
yeah,
you're not lying to me. I don't believe you are. Right. I don't believe that I'm not lying to you, and you have to trust that our mastermind, which we'll talk about in the future, but that is a trustworthy mastermind. And so if you've got people like we've got in different groups, believe it. If you can't believe it yourself, then listen to the other people that are telling you that you're going to go places, that you're meant for more, that you are going to fill this event, or you're going to get this many students, or you're going to get the magazine's, program going that you want. Like all of that. Just believe them that they're telling the truth.
Yeah, it's so true. And it's so supportive. And also, there's that other invisible force, which we just talked about, the paradigm. The paradigm doesn't want you to grow and expand into these desires. So there's like this battle going on, right? Like your soul wants to develop, it wants to expand, it wants to be more, see more, do more, and have more. And in order to do that, you have to elevate, you have to level up, you have to push past these fear barriers. And, that invisible force, the paradigm, wants to keep you right where you are. And so it's this inner dialogue battle that's going on where we desire the thing, we want the thing, and then the paradigm will start to get activated and say things that will make you so fearful that maybe you don't take that next step. Maybe you don't, do the thing that will take you to the next level. And so, personally, I am constantly pushing myself because I want to grow, I want to expand, and I want to kick that paradigm to the curb. Like I've had enough of my paradigm. I'm telling you, I got words for my paradigm on a regular basis. And so every single day I visualize something that I want to achieve. And so I'm playing with this, like he says, like a scientist, right? Be a scientist, play with this. Even if you don't believe or you don't buy into it fully, get curious about it and play with it. Experiment, see what happens. And so this is what I've been doing. I mean, every day I visualize the big goal, right? The big C-type goal. But lately I've been visualizing a different outcome, a different desire that I want to achieve. And so, especially after, diving into this chapter more, it's making me want to get even more specific about what this outcome looks like. For me, it's my first live in-person event. I've never done a live in-person event before. Everything's been online. I know how to do it all online. I've got people all over the world that are in my community, but I've never done anything locally in my own city before. So I don't know where my people are, And so as I'm preparing to do this first event, there's a lot of fear that creeps in and doubt and uncertainty. And I just keep visualizing like full tables. I visualize myself like relaxed and just so confident and delivering in such a way that it's connecting emotionally and it's compelling people to feel their own power. And the result is just like incredible. So this chapter is so powerful. If you want to achieve a desired outcome, you've got to be able to think in the certain way. And that means allowing yourself to believe that it is already done.
Yeah, 100%. I think a lot of people are like kids have no problem daydreaming. They can sit there. I actually don't have any problem daydreaming. But I think a lot of people do. They've forgotten how to use their imagination, and they've been suppressed for a long time, so they can't even think of an outcome or a different one. Like, what happens, when your event is full. Like you went into really good detail. I really felt like how this event is going to go, right? And you've already created that energy in your mind because you've been exercising your imagination for a while now, since you've been studying this book and you've been doing the visualization. But if you don't have the ability to visualize, if you close your eyes, like, okay, I'm going to visualize, and now it's just blank, you can't even think of anything. You have to start really small. Like, what's the rest of this minute going to look like? What's the rest of this day going to look like? What do I want? And once you've got that want in your mind, even if it's like, I want to have, a tuna sandwich for lunch, there you go. So what happens if you get that? What's next? And every time you can visualize something and you can see it, then you go, okay, now what's next? Now what's next? And then you're stretching your imagination to be able to look beyond just that one thing that's stuck in your head. And then you can, then once you get it, it's like a switch goes off and now you're like in la la land all the time. So then your job will be to kind of rein it in.
You're so right. There are people who have forgotten how to imagine, how to wonder about all the things that they can have and do and become, because they've been so conditioned and programmed to believe that they can't have this and they can't do that. And it's not true. It's not true at all. And so a great way to begin to activate your imagination is by writing, because when you write, you conjure images in your mind. So, you can start by writing your perfect day and what your perfect day looks like. And if money was no object, what are some of the things you would do and have and wear and eat and listen to? And those writing words will conjure images in your mind. And then, of course, those images in your mind, they can create feelings of excitement and desire. And once you connect, those images with your subconscious mind, your emotional mind, you anchor them in. It's like now you've got something that you can really, really take off with.
Yeah, that's true.
So listen, ladies, I just want to let you know that if this sort of stuff really intrigues you, if you're curious to know more, I have two things that I can offer you that are absolutely free. First of all, we have got a free 3-day masterclass. It's inside a private Facebook group. It's called Money Code, the science of getting rich. And so over the course of 3 days, I did 3 masterclasses where we went deep into the science of getting rich. We talked about solidifying your goal, the way riches come to you, and acting in the certain way. You can access that by just finding the Money Code Facebook group, asking to join, and I'll let you in as soon as possible. You can start going deeper. Like, there is no barrier here to your growth and expansion. And then second, starting next week, I'm doing a free 5-day challenge. And so this is for you if you have already been dabbling in the science of getting rich, or you're just new to it and you're really curious. You want to explore these principles, this science, to see if it can help you realize some of your desires and your dreams. Now, this free 5-day challenge starts next week. And no matter when you're listening to this podcast, it will be available to you. All you have to do is find the Facebook group called the 5-day Core 4 Challenge and ask to join, and I'll let you in as soon as possible. So whether you're joining me live next week or you're catching the replay, there's going to be a wealth of wisdom in there to support you on your journey of getting rich. I know you're going to be there, right, Amy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Core 4. Exactly. The core 4. We got to beat those paradigms, man. We need to expand and break that glass ceiling, because, we didn't come here to struggle and suffer and force and effort and be in poverty. Like, we came here to be rich. I think Bob Proctor said it best when he said, "You were born to be rich." We were born to be rich. So let's get at it. Let's be it. Like, we're just in our own way,
Yeah. I would drop my mic on that one, but I don't want to break it. So I drop on that. Yeah. You were born to be rich. I think it's time to just embody that fully. We were put on this planet. We chose to come to this planet at this time when we do have access to all of these cool things. So open and expand your mind so that you can set a plan to go get them done, and then just believe that they're done.
Amen.
Done.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us on another episode of the Science of Getting Rich for Women podcast. We will see you next week with another fascinating chapter. And stay tuned.
It's the will. The will is next week.
Oh my God. The force. The force of the will.
Yeah. So if you're having trouble sticking to anything, you are going to want to come back next week and hear what that chapter is all about, because the will can kick you or it can be your greatest supporter. So stay tuned, ladies.
That's right. All right, Amy, take it away.
I will. Outro. Have a great week.
Bye.
Thank you all for joining us today on the Science of Getting Rich for Women podcast. Your presence means the world to us.
Before you go, we have a special request. If you found today's episode enlightening, please take a moment to leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us reach more incredible listeners like yourself.
And don't forget to share this episode with your friends and family who are ready to rise to new levels of prosperity.
Before we sign off, remember to connect with us on Facebook and get yourself a copy of The Science of Getting Rich for Women on Amazon.
As we close out today's episode, remember how powerful you are. Hold strong with faith and purpose that you do get what you want, and watch as the universe conspires to fulfill your dreams.